Establish a quorum and do a roll call. Mark, can you start?
Mark Evans.
Chris Roberts.
Sarah Riley.
Allison Neal Malone. Adrian McGinnis.
Correct. Pledge of allegiance. The flag is now over there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. District updates.
Okay, so I want to provide you with some status updates. So the storm damage was on a relative scale, pretty minor, all things considered. We, Ellen was here first on the Saturday, the night, Ricky, then Ellen, and then I, on Sunday doing an immediate assessment and contacting our insurance company, which, if you remember, we renegotiated our insurance company last year and moved away from the brokerage group that we had to ASBA Insurance. So they've been incredible to work with. They immediately sent out, well, not immediately. The first time we could get an appraiser out was, that happened on that Saturday or early Sunday morning, was Wednesday. So we really couldn't touch anything until Wednesday to get a true estimate of and have them notice the damage. So they came out and basically Ricky toured them around, and knowing that we still didn't have electricity, they were very open and told us to begin getting bids and quotes on repair and just sending them in for submission. So that is fantastic. Our coverage will be almost inclusive of all of our damages. So right now, our damages include, elementary was hit a little bit worse as far as structural and high school, but some doors on the K3 building, the awnings, both awnings, one was ripped out by an accident with our food loops guy, but he was already repairing. The other awning, the handicap accessible ramp, there was some water damage that came in, some ceiling tiles. The electricity in both kitchens went out, so we had to dispose of all the food in the freezers and the fridge. We had to dispose of all the food, pantry food, because it had gone too long. There's some minor damage to the bike rack and some assorted things outside. The debris was big everywhere. Over here, there was an HVAC on top that flipped over, and then comfort system has gone around, Mark, to check all the location, the setups of all the other units, and is going to help us negotiate that replacement, refiguration, resettling all of the pieces. Nothing big at the high school other than mostly food waste and then just cleanup. So we have a $5,000 deductible, which all things considered is not bad. And so Kim Davis from the Walton Family Foundation reached out and is helping me with some assistance from the Walton Family Foundation as far as our insurance deductible and other items that aren't necessarily insurance covered, like damage to some of the HVAC that's not necessarily replaceable, but maybe some repair work come in. I'm looking at trying to get our parking lots restriped because the grinders of the trucks that came across this one, you can kind of see the indentations in the parking lot, and it's a good reason to restripe and kind of get that sealed and fixed. Playground at the elementary, their mulch got blown, so replacement of the mulch and have somebody spread that out. So some of those little things that we would have a hard time sort of adjusting with our insurance, I'm going to kind of push through, and Kim's going to be a great help with that. So that's really good news on that end as well. As far as how long it's going to take, it's just a matter of getting it started. So once we get the bids in for replacement, we're submitting them right to the insurance. They're sending us the money and we're going to pay out. So it seems like it's going to be seamless on that end. So we're really grateful for that part. Another update is our kitchen. So we did dispose of the food. That was a really interesting endeavor. We tried to put as much food waste into the food loops bin, so the food recycle bin. So they brought us some more. And we put as much food in that as it would hold. I think we filled 20, 22. The rest of it just went straight to the dumpster. And what we found with that is those freezers needed to be cleaned out, and there was food in there that shouldn't have been in there. So it was a perfect time to start from zero. We're averaging the total of the food and going to get that reimbursed. So in the meantime, those kitchens are taking advantage of the opportunity with empty things to clean, and that hadn't been done in a long time. So we've hired a new kitchen manager who's come to us from Pea Ridge with experience. She's very with it and has just jumped in and been a huge help. And so she will be doing the kitchen manager from both campuses, and we've hired a lady to come in and do the child nutrition piece part-time. So we were kind of on a better task with that. We canceled our first session of summer school just because there was no time to do it. We didn't even have food to serve. We had to get that reordered. We had to get the spaces clean. So we will go on with second session, which is after the 4th weekend. So that July 8th is when it starts for 2 weeks. And we will serve food for any student K-18 that is around that wants to come in. So we'll have a seamless summer for breakfast and lunch for those 2 weeks. So those are the kitchen updates. I do have some other great news. So let me go backwards just a moment. So when we ended school early, so in order for us to do that, I had to reach out to the Secretary of LEVA, the Department of Education, and get his permission really to end school early, because we were 4 days short of our contract of ending on that Friday. He was very gracious. He texted me immediately, and so we had to submit a waiver to the State Board of Education, which we're on the docket on Thursday. But he's helping us navigate that. So we went through all the right channels to do that. We understood. Rogers did the same thing. So that was with no problem at all. With the LEARNS Act, which was Governor Sanders' big education initiative, part of that is something called merit pay. So it is a process for teachers to receive some funding from the State Department based on student growth. So it's an average of 3 years of student growth, and there's other qualifiers that you have to have an Arkansas license, you have to, meet some of these other criteria, you have to have good test evaluations and things like that. So we were really proud to be notified that 3 of our teachers are going to receive merit pay from the Department of Education. And we've kept it quiet because we wanted you guys to know first. So these are 3 elementary teachers that will be receiving merit pay, which will be a separate check that they'll get probably as soon as it hits our bank account, we'll roll it out to them. Amanda Willard will receive $6,000 from the Department of Education. Katie Bowis will receive $3,000, and Megan Rosanna will receive $3,000. So of all the teachers in the state that have qualified as a merit pay finalist, these are 3 of ours, and we're very proud of that.
That's amazing.
Yes. So we'll let them know about that, that great bonus, and I'm very proud of them. The other really update that I have is, this is Melanie Morgan's last board meeting. She will depart us at the end of next week. And I just wanted to publicly thank Mel for coming in and nurturing our school district for this past year and the great effort that you've done. And I'm so grateful to have had this time to work with you and the impact that you've made on our staff and students. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Yeah.
Board.
Thanks,
Mel.
Ditto. Thank you.
Those are my most pressing updates. So if we want to go into personnel.
Lots of changes there.
We have had Carissa is the new kitchen manager, and then these are some positions that either have been replaced or retired, or they were non-renewed based on enrollment. So our dance teacher, we did not have the student signups to qualify for two, so we had to eliminate one. They were both given the opportunity to apply for that position, and one did. And then we eliminated a coaching role, which we didn't need. And the numbers did not justify another English teacher. We made some changes in the cafeteria. And then we did not have enough enrollment for the film class that we had. So those are positions that we've moved on from.
So how many actual open spots do we need to fill by August?
We have a speech pathologist position open. We have a
Science, high school science.
high school science. Those are the two. So we're really in hiring shape. We're really in a good spot.
Okay.
The administrative staff have been doing some great interviews and they've vetted, and we've got some really great people coming in that we've hired. Really pleased about that. And we made a transition. Mr. Lennon will be moving from elementary. He's going to teach digital art, which is his background. He's got an amazing portfolio. And let's see, only transition. We've got some of our Sherry Cathcart-Sievert, who is a teacher, a music teacher at the high school. She's going to be teaching a couple of classes at the elementary school. Ms. Kessler is going to be teaching a couple of dance classes at the elementary school. So we're also working on an arts bridge as well with our staff. So that will really enhance that as well. And that's all I have.
Okay.
You ready?
Right.
So most of my stuff is in the presentation, and you have the copies of it. I will talk about, so first of all, we finished our quarter 4 unit for Artful Learning, and it was amazing. Our kids were so excited. Our teachers were really excited. They really saw a lot of value and a lot of increased engagement from kids, and also they saw a lot of the kids were experiencing a lot more rigor than they had. It was a wonderful thing to actually get to implement it. We were sad that we didn't have that last week, because that was when a lot of the wrapping up and, just the reflection and the questions and some original creations were happening. But this last week, we worked with the Artful Learning team, and our teachers worked on writing 2 more units, and a unit covers 1 quarter. So by the time we get done with this year, this next school year, we'll have 3 out of our 4 quarters completely 100% planned through Artful Learning. And then our first quarter is dedicated to arts-based skills and strategies. And we may add that on as a unit in the future, but the Artful Learning model is 3 units and a starter quarter. We had, Dr. Roberts was at our Shark Tank. Our teachers presented to our Shark Tank, which was made up of our essentials teachers, their ideas for their new units that they're working on. And they kind of proposed and asked questions, kind of asking for their guidance and their support on things here and there, not to put too much pressure on the essentials teachers, but to just kind of use some of their expertise. And that was a lot of fun to see our teachers. Some of them came out in a tableau, and some of them were handing out prizes to try to get their favorite sharks. But it was also exciting to see our essentials teachers be able to show their expertise that they have, because it's vast. And it was a wonderful training overall too. All right, so I'll start with our school improvement, and I'll show you some things in here. So our first goals are on academics. So the first one is 30% of our students will meet or exceed their stretch goals in iReady on literacy, and we met that goal with 30% or right on the dot. We definitely still have room to grow on this one, but we did meet that goal. The next one was 90% of elementary students will exceed typical growth. 57% met that, which seems pretty good, but 90 is quite a lofty goal, so we still have work to do. And then in math, our goal was 20% will meet their stretch growth, and we had 15% meet that stretch growth. And then our typical growth, our goal was 60%, and we had 40%. So we know that math is absolutely a focus, and we're going to be doing some math training with our teachers when they come back. K-6, they'll be receiving some math pedagogy and instruction training right as soon as we get back in the fall. So I'm not going to go through all this, but I'll at least tell you what it is. So this is the 3 years at a time of each grade level showing where kids were, if they were on, above, below, 2 below, or 3 or more grade levels below. So you can kind of see, you can find a cohort, like a kindergarten 22, first 23, second 24. You can also look within kinder, within first and within second. We do see that there's some growth happening in the grade levels. There's some that are not quite as good as their previous years. Kind of the most drastic change, I think, is 4th grade, but that also represents Miss Rosanna and Miss Adams leaving literacy and moving to their current positions. And then here's our last little math. Our math definitely shows a need for more training and support for our teachers. So for arts integration, I feel like this is definitely our strong point this year. Every single one of our teachers deployed an artful learning unit this year, which took an incredible amount of work. And then, so this year they wrote just 1 unit. This next year they're writing 2 full units. And we've done a couple of things to support that I'll show you in a couple of slides. And we also had a goal of collaborating with museums in the community. We took over 40 field trips this year that were all learning based, and we visited a lot of museums. Every single student in our school visited Crystal Bridges at least once. Some visited 4 or 5 times. And every single student also went to the Walton Arts Center this year to see a performance. So our kids are getting out into our community, and we also, Rogers Historical was a pretty big partner this year. We went to Rogers Historical a lot of different grade levels a lot of times, so that was a wonderful partnership. So here's some pictures of some of our deployment of our unit. So that bottom left-hand corner is 2nd graders. They did poetry in motion, and they practice and practice and practice, and they would read it at the exact same time simultaneously, and then they had movements for certain words as they read their poems, and it was a pretty impressive thing to see live. But they also had little videos that you could scan from QR codes in the hallway and see the kids working on that. We have a picture of some kids visiting their masterwork, Mille Fleur, and they can also explain to you how that was made and the process that the artist went through and how it connected back to their unit concept, which was relationships. We also have a tableau over here of some children working. They're showing their fairy tale. They did a tableau. They did it before and after. They did it before. I believe this is their before. And then they talked about it as a class about ways they could improve their tableau to really show what they're trying to get across. And then they revised. With the little girl painting upside down, that's 1st grade. Their masterwork was Matisse's The Snail. And some of the time he did some work upside down. And so they practiced that. But some 1st graders are kind of short. So when they're lying on the ground and looking up at a table, they can't reach. So they had to talk about what kind of adaptations do we need so we can be able to, so we're able to actually reach the table. And then that other piece is a Cornell box, which was the original creation, which is kind of the culmination of the whole unit for 5th grade. They studied relationships, and they started with a really interesting piece of artwork called 63 Things I Found in My Son's Mouth. And it was all the little pieces. And so the kids did a whole lot of work around that, around relationships in every one of their content areas too. And then this was their kind of their metaphor for relationship in the end. And then we also have journey maps. So anytime that you come to the school from here on, starting at 2nd quarter, we'll have journey maps up, which shows everything that's been happening for that artful learning unit. So this unit is 4th grades, and it shows everything, well, not everything that happened, but it shows some of the big highlights of everything that happened from their masterwork experience, their concept exploration. It shows some different arts-based skills and strategies that they used in their classes. And it shows original creations. It shows every bit of the process that they went through. And teachers also have smaller versions of these in their classrooms so that they can refer back to it with their kids because they're using that unit for a whole quarter. So they'll say, okay, so let's look right here. We did this piece. How does this relate to what we're doing now? And it really helps kids make connections. Okay, so our arts electives and pathways. We definitely had kids on a rotation. They were getting a lot of visual and performing arts this year. And our students did work with both campuses worked together to complete some projects and present showcases. We did Day of the Dead, Arts Cafe, Celebrate the Arts, and then we also have started attending some vertical K-12 arts PLCs that will continue next year. So one of the big changes for next year is how we are going to be delivering our arts instruction. So we have kind of split up between K4 and 5-6 because we wanted to give 5th and 6th grade more time in their essentials classes. So in order to do that, our arts teachers don't have more time to give, so we had to split them up. So for K4, Ms. Price will be teaching visual arts, Mr. Shields will be teaching music, choral and instrumental. Ms. Schuster will be teaching theater, and then Kevin Guy will be teaching movement and dance. And then our 5th and 6th grade teachers, we have for visual arts, Ms. Vivian Pitts. She's a new hire. She's wonderful. And then Dr. Roberts already talked about Ms. Cathcart-Sievert, who's going to teach. She'll have choir and piano because they're going to be doing a every other day kind of A-B schedule, kind of like we did last year, sort of. Ms. Jules Taylor, who does a lot of work with our students after school intercessions, and in the summer is going to be teaching theater, and then Amy Kessler is going to be teaching dance. Ms. Cathcart will also be teaching 4th grade as well, so she can do some piano for 4th grade. So our breakup is kind of like this. So K3, our real focus is going to be on creative skill development. They'll have it daily for 60 minutes, and they'll be doing kind of small presentations within their content area. So they'll have a small dance presentation, a small, kind of like they have been doing. But 4th grade, we're going to have a big, it's our production year. So they will still be meeting daily, but they're going to kind of, they're going to be doing a lot of different regrouping. So one kid might be in theater for a whole bunch of days in a row, and then they might be in art for a whole bunch of days in a row. They're going to be a lot more fluid. Because one of the things that they're working on, they're going to work on a Veterans Day production, and then they're working on the Lion King. We received a grant to get a whole Lion King kids set of materials and production rights and all of the stuff for free. And so they're really excited about it. They already have plans for how they're going to do costumes and how they're going to do backdrops and who's going to do this piece of the acting, who's going to do this piece of the choir. They've been talking about it a lot already. So that will be. We want for that to become a tradition where our kids are looking forward to 4th grade because they know that they're going to do like a big production. And I think that it will give us something for kids to look forward to, but also at that level, it's a really great time for them to figure out which part of that do they really connect with. And it gets them ready for 5th and 6th grade for pre-pathway programming. So they'll have a semester rotation. They'll be in class for 75 minutes. Here's the schedule. Or the little snip of the schedule. So each 5th and 6th grade will have 75 minutes of their essentials time. And we'll start the year by the first couple of weeks. They'll actually attend a rotation of all of them because I want them to get to know the teachers and get to know kind of what they're offering. And then they will pick, they'll kind of order everything like we've done before, and they will go into 2 different classes. And they'll stay in that for the semester. And then in January, we will rotate and repick, and they can pick the same thing again if they want to, but sometimes the kids, we didn't have an opportunity to do that in the past, where if they were in guitar, they were in guitar the whole year. And being able to repick will allow them to try more things out. It will also allow them to, not allow, but prevent them from burning out, hopefully, because we did have a couple of kids that really got burnt out on some things. So we are going to try that. Also, by having 2 classes, they're going to be on a rotation. So Miss Cathcart can teach a piano class and a choir class. And then Miss Taylor could teach an improv and a regular theater class or whatever it is. And they could offer a new set of classes for January if they want to, or they can repeat the same ones over. So what this does for us, having some teachers come over and teach 5th and 6th grade, our K4 essentials are not teaching during that time for most of the time. So they are free from 12:30 to 2:25. So what we're doing with their time is we're going to let them eat lunch every day. And then we also are going to have them not really cover. They're going to go and have a time for the arts to have small group intervention time and extension time. So they're on like Mondays, for example, the 4 of them will go and cover the 4 kinder classes for 40 minutes, and that will release those teachers. And so the arts teachers can do things like maybe they can have a little extension group kids. Maybe there's some kinder kids that really, really, really want to do more with dance or do more with art. They'll have an opportunity to kind of go deeper with those subjects with those kids. Or if there's some kids that need to finish something or get ready for a performance, they have that freedom to mix kids up there. It gives our teachers time, we're calling it design time, to work on their artful learning units, and then also to work on all of the things that will be new with UDL, that understanding universal design of learning. So it will allow them time every other week. 1 week they'll be working directly on their artful learning units because it takes a lot of hours to prepare those. And then the other week, they will be working with our special education team, with our Charis team, and with everybody to help make sure that all of our kids are getting what they need all the way across the spectrum. And then it also gives them a little extra chunk of time to plan and collaborate with each other. So the next goal we have is engagement. Our goal was that they will remain engaged in the classroom. We didn't really have any data to compare to because we started a walkthrough form just as an administration team, and we definitely saw a lot of engagement in our classrooms. And the engagement isn't just our kids doing things, because they're always doing things, but are they intellectually engaged in high rigor work? And so we saw that 73% of the time in completely informal and unannounced walkthroughs. Oh, I just didn't take that top part off. Also, our discipline. So our discipline this year, we had 95 incidents, which was 49 unique students. And last year, all of our data shows that we had 97 incidents and 53 unique students. I'm pretty certain that that's very much underreported because it said that there were 13 from March to May, and I absolutely know that that's not true because I remember like 13 in a day here and there. So I'm pretty sure that that's underreported. So we'll start to have some consistent data from this year on that we can actually compare to see if our engagement is decreasing discipline, which is what we hope and expect. Our next goal was attendance. Our goal was that they would attend school 90% or more throughout the school year, and we had that. We had 95.5% attendance rate, and every single grade level was pretty close to each other. Everyone was real tight. So we definitely want to improve our tardiness because that affects kids' engagement in the classroom and in the beginning of the day. So that's something that we're also working on, but overall attendance was pretty good. We did, of course, have some chronic absent kids that we've worked with them this year. We're going to continue and have them on our radar from day one for next school year. For health and wellness, we had 3 goals. Some things that we did to support health and wellness. We had a SEL instruction available through Suite 360, and we had daily time scheduled to deploy those lessons through advisory. We called it advisory in the upper grades. We called it skills time in the lower grades, but we had dedicated time for SEL lessons. For our teachers, because health and wellness includes our staff as well, we had a sunshine committee, we had a wellness committee. We also did quite a few things in the school to promote morale and support our teachers. Nurse Katie and our counselor provided lessons in the classrooms, and we'll continue to do that. And then Espen, she's Rue of Rue's World's therapy dog or licensed therapy dog, came once a week for the 2nd semester and came and visited our kids and visited our staff because our staff would also sign up for time just to see the dog. I absolutely did everything.
Having a finger up her nose.
She's a really good dog. The kinders definitely got in her business, but she's very, very well trained. Rue said every day when she just went and slept for like 3 hours and didn't get to She was on the whole time. Okay, that is it for me. Do you guys have any questions?
So just as a reflection before Mel gets up, if you remember last year, we put together a school improvement plan. That was a committee work. We took 2nd semester to put together, and these were goals that we worked on as a committee. The teachers involved on what they felt like we needed to do to increase our rigor to and schools and all that. So I asked principals now after the year of doing that, the reflection on what that was, the data, the reflection. And so what we'll do now is with their feedback and with the reflection, we'll meet again to set a new course for the coming year.
Perfect.
Thought you might find those as a good resource as we talk about it. Before I start talking about our school improvement plan, I'm gonna tell y'all about our end of year. You know, it was weird. I gotta tell you, it's really weird to end school like that. And in high school, we did not have our semester tests. They were scheduled for that final week, Tuesday through Thursday. And it was a culmination of a lot, but I think we did a good job considering the situation we were in. As a staff, we consulted Dr. Roberts and as an admin as to making sure that we were doing things in the best interest of our kids. Knowing that many of them might have been counting on a semester opportunity. And we were in direct contact with our staff. Many didn't have contact. As you know, many of them were affected by the storm and they didn't have power. Jamie was an example that went without power for a while. And so Dr. Roberts allowed me to find some areas and venues where we could get together and meet because we needed to come together. So we used an Embassy Suites boardroom for free. Free was the word. We used Embassy Suites boardroom for free. I tapped into APSRC to my old conference room. We met down there, we called it the war room. And then we advised teachers what they needed to be doing remotely that last week of school so they could get grades finalized. We gave them directions to APSRC so they could come figure out how to get on TAC and log in and put their grades in, how to not penalize a child for an assignment that had not been able to be accepted. We put all those parameters into place, I want to let you know. And then we forged on and we had a whole week of professional development for our staff. The first week of June, they're still on contract. So they came in Monday, they cleaned in their rooms. Tuesday, we hit it hard. We had Martha Dodson from APSRC as a school support coach, and Kimberly Parks. And we took the next step forward with our inclusionary practices training. Dr. Langley, Ms. Price were very involved in helping design what that looks like for our entire staff. And then they split them apart in the afternoon on Tuesday and they actually taught them about the co-taught model because the students rising to us this year will be fully included in the classrooms, in all the gen ed classrooms in seventh grade. And we're doing that also in English language arts. So it was a good time for us to really get our staff to thinking because that's a big change for high school. That's a really big change. And we do have some new staff, as you mentioned, coming on from special ed. So we hope that they bring some of that with them where they may have experienced that positive and negative change wherever they come from. But we have one on staff, Hamaker, who's done an amazing job already, accelerating those practices here this year. So that was Tuesday. Wednesday, we had Mr. Teffinson actually went over the most recent ELPA scores. We got them back. And he discussed that with the staff, how to analyze it and how to provide supporting strategy, scaffolds and supports for our English learners. And then the afternoon, Ms. Price did a wonderful job. Her and Ellen and was Jamie with you? I can't remember. I tried to stay out on shared leadership, and it was wonderful. And she used Miss Ann Wenzel to be involved in it. And so our staff kind of had a closure, and they needed it because they would come into my office and they go, "Mel, this is weird. You know, I didn't get to tell my kids bye. Go send them a letter. They've still got their Chromebook, send them a letter." And so that many of them took advantage of that opportunity to talk to students, to talk to families about students, and to wrap it up. And then Thursday, Erin Jones did a great job with arts integration and took our staff to Crystal Bridges. It was fun. It was a really good way. And then Friday was a cleanup day and checking everything in. And we invited parents, and I know you all got copies of that. There's a copy of the letter in the very back of this, that we had quite a few families. They were here at 7:30, not to turn their Chromebook in, but they wanted to get their report card. They wanted to get their student schedule for next year. They wanted their yearbook when we're getting those reprinted. There was a little boo-boo in it, but other than that, it was a really good turnout. We collected money on Friday, which was good, but we tried to make it a healing process for our families because we know a lot of them were affected, and it just felt good for them to get to come in. Students could meet with teachers, collect their artwork, their instruments, drink glasses, whatever they left here. So that's how we wrapped up the school year. Anyway, do y'all have any questions about that part? Okay, what I've given you here are just some big snapshots of what I'm going to talk about in the school improvement plan, but we'll look at them really quick. The first one is just a snapshot of math. This is 712 math. And if you'll notice, it's labeled down the left side as whether it was a fall, winter, spring administration. We gave it 3 times. Y'all know we were cut short in the spring. So math managed to get like 91% of all the students tested. We had already done the seniors that we were willing to test. You understand what that looked like? So we got 91% of our students tested in math. So that's a good sound number to be basing things on. English, there were a couple grade levels that were counting on that as their plan that last week, and it affected them a little bit more. But if you look at math, I'm really proud. I mean, y'all can look as detailed as you want, but one of the things I like to look at, blue and red is good. Blue and red means they're at their own grade level or better. But if you look at the lines here in rows of 3, look at here. They have progressed the number of students that are at grade level or beyond in 7th grade. They did the same thing in 8th grade. They did the same thing in 9th grade. They did the same thing in 10th grade. It's a little bit smaller of a line angle in 11th and 12th because some of that's just the kids' commitment to taking an I-ready test at that point. But I'm letting you know, at every grade level, we see growth in mathematics. And if you remembered a year ago, you started fresh with a team, brand new team. And some of them hadn't been in high school before, and some didn't have their certifications, and we've had a turnover in math, and we absorbed a coach. And I just want you to know they have really unified, and we figured out ways to try to keep them here and retain them. They're going to be teaching an additional class and getting paid for a plan outside of their school day. So they're going to be teaching groups of children that might be at our door that are 2 or more grade levels below, and we have data to show it, in a second block of math. And we're going to close that gap. And I told Dr. Roberts, one of the greatest things is to go look and see a child that we're 3 grade levels below and they're at grade level. Now, we know in summers they'll lose a little bit of that sometimes, but that's a huge thing, and we saw that unified in math. And reading's very close to that. There's a little bit of a decline down towards the upper grades. You don't see it as much in the 12th grade, and there was a little bit of reverse action happening in grade 7, but I have to tell you that data is an anomaly because they were only able to test 82% of 7th and 8th graders. They were going to finish them. So when I look at the data, there are kids in progress. They had started it, they didn't get finished. So that could be the justification between 7th grade in math and 7th grade in reading this year. I just want y'all to know it. That anomaly may exist because 25 of our 7th graders did not get tested. And they might have been the part that brought them over the line with that. The next thing in your packet, did y'all have any questions about that? And the numbers on there in white, the little white numbers, that just tells you the actual number of students that represent that bar on there. This is your ACT data that we did in the spring. We had a paper administration in March.
February.
Thank you. We did make it to March, didn't we? It was the end of February. And if you'll look at this, I didn't give you trend data, but if you'll look at this group, this is the free administration to all juniors, but it lets you see how they compare to the state. We're red, state's blue. Okay.
Thanks.
So it lets you see their composite score outperformed them quite a bit, 20.3 to 18.2. And then I broke out the separate different content areas from math all the way to reading so that you can see that information on that. The next page is just a reference. You don't have to understand that. That is a state performance metric but it lets you know, if you were interested in what fourth grade did this year at the state, 12% of the kids on ELPA, English Language Proficiency, demonstrated proficiency to exit. So that helps you then with the guide, because this data is a little bit different. Your English language proficiency data across our districts on the next page, it looks like this. And I just gave you grade level, y'all, because, and even then, that's probably a privacy violation because we have such few children. At some of our grade levels, it would be identifiable, but it lets you just see the progress on there. Yellow means that they were, it's on the back, that helps you. Yellow means they're progressing, they still need supports. Green means they're proficient. They can exit and they can speak language, English language proficiently without the help. Okay, that lets you know. But again, please interpret that data with caution. It's very small numbers, so one kid can make or break a graph there. And the last thing I wanted to brag on around college and career readiness metrics, not just did we do well in ACT, ACT put together a boot camp. I need to back up a minute and let you know, Ms. Wasserman out of science, Ms. Hicks out of math, and Ms. Falter out of English. They did a 3-week boot camp and our kids signed up for it. The kids that were, and it was available 11th and 12th, but we even let 10th graders that were interested in doing it. So whether or not you were doing the free administration or you were doing one on your own, it was a boot camp to help them increase their scores. I'll be honest. It was trying to help them with how to approach the test, how to know what content to expect, how to pace yourself with time, how do you analyze questions when you don't know the answer. All of those tricks and trades, and so I hope it made a difference. This is what I had Meredith put together very quickly. This is a summary of everything that she did as your college and career coach this year. Even though she won't be returning, she put together student success plans. We did not have any when I got here. They are required by law to be in place by the end of 8th grade. She has them in place, not just for 8th grade, but for 9th, 10th, and 11th. 12th didn't matter. She has them in place, and she has started the foundation work for 7th, and they even has been to the elementary, correct? To lay that foundation work for grade 6. So she's got 70 of the plans. She had 70 meetings to knock them out, sometimes collectively as a group, sometimes individually, sometimes small group. She has completed 341 student success plans, and they're in a system. She organized 26 workshops and events. I won't read them all to you, but they're all there. These are things that she conducted, and not by herself, but she organized and made sure that we had. She did some Maya Learning community service submissions. There were 73 service learning submissions through Maya Learning. She had 4 girls attend Girl State, 3 going to governor's schools. She helped administer 6 AP exams with Miss Dale's help there. And as you saw at our graduation ceremony, if you were here, the dollar amount of the scholarships that our students received even this year with FAFSA being so late was over $500,000. So I just thought that those would be some good metrics for you. The last page is just a copy of the letter we sent home. Most of you got that as parents. Any questions about that? And you go, oh no, this won't take long. Promise it won't. Academics, we did not meet this goal. I told you 25% of 7th and 8th graders will meet or exceed the stretch goal. We had 24%. I personally looked at who the 25 were that didn't finish their test. I do believe we would have made it. I knew 7 of them would have been strong performing kids that had not finished. They were in the process. So anyway, we didn't meet it. I had to put that up there. We missed it by 1 percentage point, the stretch goal there. Okay. And I made a note that our completion rate was just 82%. Okay. Because of this weather. And we met it in math. You set a goal last year of 20%, 43% met the stretch goal. That's huge in 7th and 8th. That is huge. The foundation is moving. Goal 3 was 25% of the 7th and 8th graders will increase their reading comprehension. They did. We had 13 percentage points in 7 and 11 percentage points in grade 8. You can read all this. I'm not going to read that to you. It just addresses each one of our goals. one of the things I talked to Dr. Roberts about, it's hard to have common formative assessments when you have a singleton teacher. So you're kind of designing that by yourself, but they do design formative assessments and use them and discuss them in a vertical teaming setting. Weekly in PLCs. This goal was met in 9 through 12. They used the Atlas assessments for the classroom tools. I told you math jumped all over that to start with. They even gave their semester test in Atlas on that platform. English come along. I don't know that every one of them jumped on it, Jamie, but I know some did because I went and assisted them when they didn't know what to do. But it let them design, it let them fish from a bowl of questions and pick what they wanted to be in a classroom formative little tool or measure, or it let them create their own, whatever they wanted to do, what their comfort level was. But many of them, it helped them as a teacher understand how the child was going to be assessed, the type of questions and designs, but it also allowed the kids to kind of diffuse the fear of taking a test. They were very familiar with the platform. So we partially met this goal, increasing the reading comprehension scores. Again, reading is the assessment that I feel like we didn't get all of our data on, but at 11 and 12, we did not show an increase in reading comprehension. We missed it by 2 percentage points, it looks like. A decrease of 2 percentage points, did not increase in 11, 12, and 1 at 12, but we met it in 9 and 10. So they did pretty good. Reading comprehension is just one of the strand measures that get assessed within the reading test on iReady. 90% of students will take them frequently throughout the year. If you remember the last time I was in front of you about this, we didn't have the winter done. I layered it in there. In winter, we did hit it. 97% completed math and 96% completed reading. This, who knew a tornado was coming? But anyway, we got close at the end, and I think you can put some value on your data. I caution you with the reading piece. Goal was met for 12th graders to increase their GPA to a minimum of 3.0. The goal was 60%. We exceeded it. 74% met that. And I did look at semester 2. So I looked at 1 and 2. 70% of 9 through 12 will do that as well. You can see in grade 9, 76% did, and 82% in each of the grades 10 and 12. So well exceeded that of maintaining or exceeding their GPA of 3.0. The number of students enrolled in AP and classes it needed to increase, we had 94 last year, we had 140. Okay, so that went up. We needed to, that's 46 more kiddos. You won't have this data probably till mid-fall, I'll be honest with you. Increasing your test scores to get an A. All you have to do, the giant piece of pie that makes up ESSA, the giant pie, is achievement and growth. And the part that kept you from getting an A last year was math. I looked at it. So if all things remain constant elsewhere in your ESSA piece, if math moves forward, and I believe it will, in growth and achievement, I will be very disappointed if y'all don't get an A at the high school because of that. But we'll see. There's a lot of new things. They will have a standard setting, you guys, on this new assessment, which means they got to determine what the performance levels are. And that may take it a little bit before the data comes back to you in the fall. Arts integration, we met this goal. Every teacher in the high school did an arts integration project. If they were a gen ed core, they implemented arts. If they were an arts teacher, they implemented gen ed. Aaron worked with the majority of all them, but we had them put it as a goal in their professional growth plan inside a test. And so they had to upload observational data as evidence of it. So they did a really good job with that. Many got outside of their shell. It created culture moments in our staff for them to cross that bridge and get out of their comfort zone and do things. And we saw some really good evidence of that, didn't we? Collaborate with museums, we met it. Dr. Langley checked for me. We had 34 field trips to museums and community partnerships. I'm going too fast, y'all stop me. We met the goal on every kiddo having 2 arts electives on a block schedule. Okay, this is how we do it. They were given, Jamie did a great job. She Zoomed with all the kids or Google Met with them all during advisory, taught them how to do their requests and learned how to build the parameters within eSchool where it told them, hey, you got to pick two and you got to give us the priority of your two. And then we double check their schedules to make sure they have two arts electives. This goal was to make sure that students are enrolled in an arts pathway. It's being met for all 9 through 12. We had 15 in our first implementation year receive cords and also certificates at the senior showcase for completing their, for being an arts pathway completer. And Ellen helped me brainstorm all them, but it wouldn't all fit on there. Thank you. There was, most every pathway was addressed. So Rachel talked about this a little bit, but students from both campuses work together. There's a lot of room for us to grow on that. You would agree. But Day of the Dead was how elementary students presented projects for at the high school for that. They came over and helped collaborate in the spring semester for Freedom Speaks. And then we've created opportunities for our teachers to go and be in each other's buildings. I know Joy went over there and spent time in visual arts with some of your teachers. I know Todd Boleyn went over and worked and actually taught this spring semester and assisted with dance. And so, and we got plans you hear going forward to have it in a little bit more structured way. This goal was met with TES. We just talked about that. Discipline, really proud of this goal being met. So we had 209 discipline incidents in the fall, and we are recording ours, Lord, aren't we? We are, because we knew we'd want to see a number. It's proof that our hair's white, and I'll just put it that way. But they did go down after we implemented the PBIS system, and just good, strong procedures. That helps. That always helps. This goal was met. PD was implemented. In January and June, we talked about it, so I don't have to tell you about that. But Jamie and Ellen and I, even though we weren't here with power, we've completed our PGPs for all of our staff and each other. Like we've got PGPs, we think, on everybody, and test evaluations where they're needed. Rachel's data looks a lot like mine. I mean, when you look at average daily attendance, it always looks good. It looks like you don't have a problem, but you have chronic people. So these are the things that we did. We strengthened up whether or not teachers were actually recording attendance correctly, because that gets reported to families. Making sure that we have referrals for excessive tardies, because that happens at the high school quite a bit in the mornings. Giving the parents notification letters, sending them out, sending the second one certified, and tracking them in eSchool. Giving them the policy, letting them know what's coming, and then actually filing offense on our most chronic offenders, who there's a direct correlation between that and achievement and a lot of things. And so many times DHS would get involved and be involved in helping with a bigger thing. And the last, health and wellness, we met that. The counselors, especially while Ms. Miller was here, they did a lot of curricular topics school-wide. You've seen the flyers and the little QR codes to assist students with how they can reach out for help, for suicide prevention or self-harm or hotlines. There's telehealth providers available, and they engaged in a lot of activities throughout the year. One of the things we did do is we celebrated the World Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Month in May, both during and after school, and we gave a survey, a K-12 survey, on counseling feedback, and we had 140 surveys completed. Dr. Roberts brought us in. We looked at all that information. It was data collected from students on bullying, safety, counseling program, and accessibility. So it kind of helps us know directions that we may need to look at. That's it. I told you I'd make that quick. Do y'all have any questions at all?
Who's going to take over the college and career since she's not returning? How's that going to work?
I will let Ms. Price answer that. That's her forte.
We actually have a plan for, and we have a couple of social studies teachers that are short numbers. So we have a social studies teacher, Tim Smithy, that is going to have a class period assigned for 2 parts, working on the college career planning and helping us with that, along with AP concurrent credit, and then gifted. So he has quite a few hats to wear during that class period. And then I also have, I have it in development, but a plan for our advisory program to also address a lot of those things. So we'll have a shared leadership team that's just over advisory and developing like how we want that to look going forward. And in the absence of a college and career coach, using some of our teachers and the strengths that they have to address those in advisory. So we'll tie that all together with choosing our classes for the next year, SSP, our student success plans, and all of that will be tied into advisory going forward. But it'll take us this fall with a shared leadership team. I mean, I could throw together a plan and put it out there for them, but I feel like we'll get a lot more leverage if I allow, and really, not only will we get a lot more leverage, we'll get a lot better product if the teachers come together to design what advisory needs to look like, how we develop the program for choosing our classes for the next year, how that ties into the student success plan, how that ties into college and career readiness. And then we have already started a little bit down this with working with one shared leadership team on AP and concurrent credit courses and what we will offer to students in the 8th grade. That is a high school credit. And so we're already looking forward to those types of things. So we'll bump AP down to a 9th grade level with at least one course futuristically, not this coming fall, and then bump that forward as far as what they can get in AP. I'm already working on a plan with that team to develop what we call the 60+ club, which is 60, the equivalent of an associate's degree, only we're not as worried about the degree as we are checking the boxes for the Arkansas core courses that are required in college. And so working through different pathways that students can take that are kind of laid out for them. If you want to graduate with 15 college credit hours, this is a good pathway for you to take. If you want to graduate with 25, this is a pathway. 30, the 60+ club is the end game of that. And then where it is needed for a student to, where we would put emphasis on an associate's degree is when it's a terminal degree that they need for some other reason. But for me personally, and I think the team that we've put together is also in agreement that it's less important to have the associate's degree if a student's going to get a bachelor's degree. It's more important to make sure that they're checking off. And we're developing an entire system for them to determine which classes they should think about taking. You know, here's a pathway. This offers a good pathway for you. But if you are going to major in something specific, you may not want to take college algebra. You may want to take finite math instead. And so we have a whole teaching system that we're lining up for that. So college and career readiness is going to move more to the advisory level. With a shared leadership team that's overseeing that training for staff, that training for students, and all of those things moving forward. So we're working on it, but it was really it's difficult to get much done in the short time that I had. So it's really a year-long process, really a semester. I feel like the first semester we'll have a good plan laid out, and then we'll start working on choosing our courses for the next year, and the college and career readiness plan will be laid out by the time we come back in January is our goal. So, questions on that?
Thank you. All right. Next we have our staff of the month.
Mel, do you want to?
Present?
Yes.
Do we have some? Oh, I have one. Come on, girls. This was a tie. Our staff knows how to secretly survey, don't they? Look at this. I am very proud to present Miss Jamie Dale and Dr. Ellen Langley with Staff of the Month.
Let me get a picture.
The middle.
Thank you.
It's like, just stick out.
Come on over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So these two girls, y'all, have done it all, and they've never said no when I've asked them. They looked at me with no. They've never said no about stretching and growing and doing whatever it took to meet whatever need that we had. I mean that. I told Dr. Roberts early on, I said, what a gift to get to have these two to work with as assistants. So I'm really, really proud that they're still part of AAA going forward, and so you couldn't have picked two better staff members. So.
Do we have any comments from the public? Okay. All right, now we just need to approve, do the consent agenda. Can we say that?
Huh?
You have something to say? Okay, so do we have any discussion of the minutes from, the last meeting? Areas of concern? Okay, can I get a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the financials, anything we need to know? No?
Wrapping up the year, just remember those negative numbers get real big until all the transfers are done, so.
Okay. All right. So we probably need a motion to approve the financials. So moved. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, enrollment update.
So our enrollment is steady, so we will get a withdrawal, then we'll get a new register. We're kind of holding where we are. We're ideally still needing about 180 kids, which is kind of where we were the last time we met. We are kind of pushing into a heavy recruitment phase the next, 8 weeks before school starts. And we are, I won't say that we're low at kindergarten, but again, that's not a terrible area to be low in. We have sparse openings at elementary. Third grade is full. Third grades are wait list for some reason. And then we do see an increase in seventh grade. We do see a trend moving in. The staff is continuing to give tours through the summer, and we'll continue to plan some of those events to keep the interest, and we'll just move forward. So.
I know Rachel's probably like, please stop talking about my kindergarten class because I want it to be small. Some of what we might be seeing in K1 is this is the first year that Eames money can be used for every first and kindergartner. So you're seeing a lot more move, even not from public to charter, but from public to private. Because every K1 student qualifies this year. There's qualifiers for the other grades, but that may be part of why we're having trouble in those grades too.
It'll be interesting, the new 5/8's opening up where Haas was. And that's sort of a classical academy, and that term is vague enough to have some, nebulous outputs from what that is. So the downside is we couldn't lose enrollment, but the upside is we could also gain enrollment because we're just right across the street. So we'll see how that plays out. But I couldn't be more happier with the results that we're getting on our data and our teachers' commitment and the rigor and the offerings and all those stuff that we continue to sort of begin to change our reputation and our footprint of the school. So we're in a good shape as we move forward.
All right. New business, we have our CEO evaluation. So it came out good. I'll just go over the numbers. On our strategic thinking score, you got a 3.81, 4 being the best. And comments that were made were, the growth, or actually the renewal of the foundation board, and it's coming back. All the grants and awards that we have gotten, and the growth planning that we have, going forward for the elementary and middle school plans.
On decision-making, you got a 4. Mentions being a strong collaborative leader and budget conscious. And then on change leadership, you got a 3.81. Comments being making the best decisions for the students, following the charter appropriately, and continuing to work on effective communication. And then the K-12 systems thinking, you got a 4. Basically comments about building a strong team. So down on other comments that were made, as far as positives were concerned, exceptional leadership to propel our school to academic and artistic excellence, and moving us toward national recognition, gives more time than reasonably expected, time and effort. Improve staff morale and cohesion, excellent focus on cost effectiveness, keen understanding of the state educational system. Great improvement in clarifying and standardizing our policies and procedures, improved community engagement, and the only suggestions were to continue to work on effective and consistent communication with staff, students, and parents, and continue to work on staff retention. So that's our feedback.
Thank you.
And I apologize for my tech skills. Oh, I'm sorry, C did not get to sign it. We'll give it to you in a second. Okay. And then other new business, we did get that one email about the social media proposal. Did anybody else get that? Or okay. Do you know what we're talking about?
I don't think so.
Oh, nobody gave it to you. I'm sorry. I assumed you were, well, your name's on here. From a Carrie Watson. It was a proposal for her to do a social media campaign for us.
I didn't get that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to forward it to you. But I think what she was essentially proposing, we pay her to get us on social media and do a social media campaign. So I'm not entirely sure what your plans are already.
Or was it the foundation was gonna pay her?
The foundation was going to pay her to do this.
I think you need a moment probably to read.
Yeah, let me think about that, because
So-
we do have a couple other things in play right now.
Okay.
With our own website developer and with Artful Learning, who are gonna submit some grants internally to their organization to help our social media
Okay.
and with our graphic designer, so.
Yeah.
There's
So-
potentially a collaboration.
But a collaboration would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So let me just look at it.
Okay. So I just forwarded that to you. So I guess if we want to discuss that next time, that's probably appropriate. Okay. Do we have any other discussion of items?
The only other thing was our July meeting
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and what your decisions on that to be.
What?
I move that we skip the July meeting.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, done.
Yes.
On that note, I'm going to say that I am only supposed to be the president for 1 year, and that would be the end of my year. So y'all need to decide amongst yourselves who's going to take the job next. Any volunteers? I guess we could go into executive session to discuss that. So, anything else to discuss before we go to executive session?
Yes, we need to make a motion with the, I'm sorry, I'm going back. We need to make a motion with the evaluation under new business to extend the contract.
Yes,
uh,
okay,
As part of this evaluation.
Okay.
So moved.
okay, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, done. Is there a legal document we need to sign?
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Okay,
What was that for?
to extend Allison's contract for 1 more year.
Thank
Yeah. All right, can I get a movement to go to executive session?
So moved.
Second, all right, let's go.
All right, do we have anything else to discuss before we close our meeting? Ready? No? All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good.